In the space between two heartbeats, in the pause between an inhale and exhale, there exists a truth as old as the stars themselves. Every soul that walks this earth is searching for its mirror. My child, if you found yourself here, listening to these words on this particular day, at this exact moment, know that nothing about your arrival is accidental. The universe has been whispering your name through every synchronicity, every almost meeting, every dream that felt too real to be mere imagination. If you've ever wondered whether the universe is trying to bring someone to you, you're not wrong. But the story I'm about to tell you, the wisdom I've gathered from watching souls dance together and apart for more years than these old bones can count, it may not unfold the way you expect. Come, sit with me a while. Let me tell you what I've learned about love, about the one, and about why you may be closer than you think, even if it feels like you're further away than ever. First, we must shatter the pretty glass of illusion. You see, my dear one, we've been sold a story, a tale spun from moonlight and wishes, that says somewhere out there walks your perfect match, your missing piece, and when you find them, all will be complete. If only the soul's journey were so simple. The truth, the one, is not a prize waiting at the end of your search. They are not a treasure buried in some distant land, nor a reward for good behavior. No, the one is a mirror, and mirrors, as you know, show us exactly what we need to see, not always what we want to see. I've watched souls meet their mirrors in the most unexpected forms. Sometimes it's the lover who stays for 60 years, growing old in the same rocking chairs, hands intertwined like ancient tree roots. Beautiful, yes. But sometimes the one is the person who shatters your heart so completely that you have no choice but to rebuild it stronger. Sometimes they're the almost love who teaches you what you truly deserve. Sometimes they arrive for just 3 months, 3 weeks, or even 3 days. But in that brief encounter, they change the entire trajectory of your soul. You see, we speak of soul contracts as if they're all marriage certificates. But the universe writes many kinds of agreements. The awakener, who arrives to shake you from your slumber. The teacher, who shows you lessons you couldn't learn alone. The mirror, who reflects your shadows until you befriend them. The catalyst, who burns down what needed to die so you could be reborn. The companion, who walks beside you for however long the path allows. And yes, sometimes the life partner, who chooses to witness all your seasons. But here's what I need you to understand, dear heart. Not every soul connection is meant to last forever in this physical realm. And that doesn't make it less sacred. That doesn't make it less real. That doesn't mean you imagined it all. A woman once told me, tears streaming down her weathered face, "But I know he was the one. I felt it in my bones. How could the one just leave?" And I told her what I'll tell you now. Maybe he was the one who needed to break you open so your light could finally escape. The one who needed to show you what love felt like, so you'd never settle for less. The one who needed to leave, so the next one could find you ready. The soul speaks in paradoxes, my child. Both things can be true. They were the one for that chapter, and now that chapter has closed. this doesn't diminish the pain. Oh, I know it doesn't. I've seen that particular ache in too many eyes to pretend otherwise. But perhaps it can help you hold the pain differently, like a sacred wound that's teaching you to heal in ways you never knew possible. Ah, but you want to know about the signs, don't you? Of course you do. We all do. We're meaning-making creatures, scanning the horizon for proof that we're not alone in this vast universe. And the beautiful truth is, the signs are real. Everywhere. The universe is constantly singing to us. We just need to remember how to hear the music. Let me share with you the 10 most common melodies the universe plays when it's orchestrating a soul encounter. First, the recognition. You know this one, don't you? That moment when you meet someone and every cell in your body whispers, "There you are." It's not attraction, though that may be present. It's older than that. It's your soul recognizing its own frequency in another. I once knew a man who described it like this. I looked into her eyes and saw every lifetime we'd ever lived together. They just met at a coffee shop. He was 73 years old and had been married twice before. But in that moment, he knew. Second, the repeated meetings. The universe is nothing if not persistent. When two souls need to connect, it will move mountains, or at least rearrange schedules to make it happen. You run into them at the grocery store, then at the park. Then your friend mentions someone with their exact name. Then you discover you've been living 3 blocks apart for 5 years without knowing. These aren't coincidences, beloved. These are the universe's way of saying, pay attention. This one matters. Third, the dreams before my wife passed. May her soul dance in eternal light. She told me she'd been dreaming of me for 3 years before we met. Always the same dream. An old man, though I was young then, sitting under a willow tree, carving something from wood. The day we met, I was 19 years old, sitting under the only willow tree on campus, whittling a piece of oak. Dreams are the soul's telegraph system. When someone appears repeatedly in that sacred space between sleeping and waking, your higher self is preparing you for their arrival. Fourth, the feeling of home. This one catches people off guard. You're sitting across from someone you've known for 5 minutes, and suddenly you could swear you've been having breakfast with them for 50 years. Their laugh sounds like a song you've always known. Their presence feels like sinking into a warm bath after the longest journey. Home, not a place, but a frequency, a resonance, a remembering. Fifth, the synchronicities. Their mother has your grandmother's name. You were born in the same hospital, 3 days apart. You both have a scar on your left ankle from the same childhood accident. You discover you were at the same concert 15 years ago, standing in the same section. The threads that connect souls who are meant to meet could fill libraries with their intricacy. But here, dear one, is where I must pause our list and speak a harder truth. Not all signs mean stay forever. Sometimes the universe orchestrates these profound meetings, not for permanent union, but for profound transformation. The signs are real. Your connection is real. But the purpose may be different than your heart hopes. I've seen souls experience every sign, every synchronicity, every mystical confirmation, and still part ways. Not because the signs were wrong, but because the lesson was complete. This is the divine paradox of soul connections. The depth of the meeting doesn't always correlate to the length of the staying. Sixth, the songs, names, and numbers. You hear their name everywhere suddenly. That song you both love plays in every store you enter. You see 1111 whenever you think of them, or their birthday numbers appear on every clock and license plate. The universe loves to play with symbols. It's one of its favorite ways to say, yes, this connection is noted in the cosmic records. Seventh, the instant comfort. You can tell them things you've never told anyone. The walls you've built around your heart suddenly have doors, and somehow they have the key. Vulnerability feels not scary, but sacred. Eighth, the growth catalyst. In their presence, or sometimes through their absence, you become more yourself than you've ever been. They water seeds in your soul you didn't know were planted. Ninth, the timeline collapse. Time becomes elastic around them. 5 hours feel like 5 minutes. Or you've known them 2 weeks but could swear it's been 2 decades. Linear time ceases to apply to your connection. 10th, the inner knowing. And perhaps most powerful of all, that quiet, unshakable knowing in your bones. Beyond logic, beyond evidence, beyond what anyone else can see or understand. You just know. But knowing, my dear child, knowing that someone is significant to your soul's journey, that's not the same as knowing they'll stay. And this is where so many beautiful hearts get tangled in confusion and pain. Come closer now. Let me speak to the wound I see in so many eyes. The ache that keeps you awake at 3 a.m., scrolling through old messages, searching for the moment it all went wrong. It's been 7 years, and I still dream about him. I hear you, daughter of the stars. We met, we clicked, and he walked away without explanation. I see you. Son of the earth. I know she was the one. I know it. So why is she marrying someone else? I witness your pain, beloved child. Let me tell you something about divine timing that might feel like salt in your wound before it becomes medicine. The universe is not cruel, but it is precise. Every meeting, every parting, every almost but not quite, they're all measured with the same infinite care. But this precision often feels like cruelty when we're the ones left holding half a love story. I once knew a woman, let's call her Sarah, who met her soul's mirror at a bus stop. Sounds ordinary, doesn't it? But what happened was anything but. They locked eyes, and in that moment, both felt the earth shift. They talked for 3 hours, missing bus after bus, exchanged numbers, had one perfect week together. Then he disappeared. No explanation, no goodbye, just gone. Sarah spent 5 years believing she'd lost the one. 5 years of dreams where he returned. 5 years of seeing his face in crowds. 5 years of wondering what she'd done wrong. Then one day, she received a letter. He'd been diagnosed with terminal illness the day after they met. He'd chosen to disappear rather than drag her into his darkness. He wrote to her only as he was dying to tell her that their week together had given him the strength to face his journey with grace. Was he the one? Yes. Was their story meant to last? No. Was there purpose in the pain? Sarah would tell you yes, because in grieving him, in raging at the universe, in finally surrendering to what was, she discovered a strength she never knew she possessed. She became a grief counselor. She's helped hundreds of souls navigate loss. The pain transformed her into a lighthouse for others drowning in similar seas. But, and this is important, not every ending has such a clear purpose. Sometimes people leave because they're scared. Sometimes they leave because they're not ready. Sometimes they leave because their soul has commitments elsewhere that have nothing to do with you. And sometimes, beloved, sometimes they leave because your soul needed the experience of being left, of choosing yourself, of discovering that you are whole with or without them. I know that sounds like spiritual bypassing when your heart is bleeding. I know it feels like I'm asking you to be grateful for agony. I'm not. Your pain is real. Your loss is valid. That connection you felt, it wasn't in your imagination. But consider this. What if every soul who touches ours leaves exactly the right amount of their light? What if 3 days with the right person can teach us more than 30 years with the wrong one? What if the ones who leave are simply making space for something or someone even more aligned with who we're becoming? There's a comment I read once that stopped me in my tracks. I prayed for 20 years to meet the one. Then I met him, and he shattered me. Now I understand. I wasn't praying to meet him. I was praying to meet the me that would emerge from loving and losing him. This doesn't mean you bypass the grief. Oh no. Let it move through you like a storm. Cry until your tears could fill oceans. Rage at the sky. Question everything. But when the storm passes, and it will pass, dear one, look for what's growing in the soil of your heart. Because sometimes the one who leaves is preparing the ground for the one who stays. Now then, enough looking backward. Let's turn your face toward the horizon. You want to know the secret that took me 60 years to learn? The truth that sounds so simple, you'll want to dismiss it, but is so profound it could change everything? Here it is. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. I can feel some of you bristling. But I am love, you want to shout. I have so much love to give. Why won't anyone receive it? And that, dear heart, might be precisely the problem. You see, being loving and being the embodiment of the love you seek, these are different frequencies entirely. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're a radio tower, broadcasting your signal out into the universe. Now, being loving, giving love, wanting love, that's like broadcasting on the AM frequency. I have love to give. Someone please receive it. But embodying the love you seek, that's broadcasting on the FM frequency. I am so filled with love that I overflow. I am whole. I am complete, and from this wholeness, I'm open to sharing my completeness with another whole being. Do you feel the difference? One is broadcasting lack disguised as abundance. The other is broadcasting genuine fullness. And here's the challenging truth. Most of us are walking around broadcasting our wounds, not our wholeness. We're sending out signals of, please complete me. Please heal me. Please prove I'm lovable. Please don't leave like the others did. And then we wonder why we keep attracting people who reflect those same wounds back to us. So how do we change our broadcast? How do we become the love we seek? First, we must do the work everyone talks about, but few actually do. We must fall madly, deeply, irrevocably in love with ourselves. And I'm not talking about bubble baths and affirmations, though those have their place. I'm talking about the kind of self-love that comes from looking at your shadows and saying, you too are welcome here. Forgiving yourself for every time you chose someone who couldn't choose you. Celebrating your resilience. Do you realize how strong you are to still believe in love after everything you've experienced? Treating yourself the way you dream the one will treat you. Here's a practice I want you to try, starting tonight. Each evening, before sleep claims you, place both hands on your heart. Close your eyes and speak these words, not from your mind, but from your soul. I am marrying myself tonight. I vow to love, honor, and cherish this soul I've been given. I vow to be faithful to my own growth. I vow to choose myself again and again until choosing myself becomes so natural that I only attract those who also choose me. I am whole. I am complete. I am love itself. And from this wholeness, I welcome divine partnership. But with or without it, I am already home. Do this for 33 days. Why 33? Because that's how long it takes to rewrite a soul pattern. But here's the deeper practice. Start living as if you're already in the relationship you desire, but with yourself as both partners. Take yourself on the dates you dream of. Write yourself the love letters you long to receive. Look in the mirror with the adoration you hope to see in another's eyes. Speak to yourself with the tenderness you crave. Create the home that feels like sanctuary. Become fascinating to yourself. Develop interests. Explore passions. Surprise yourself. You see, when you do this, when you truly, deeply do this, something magical happens. You stop broadcasting desperation. You start broadcasting fulfillment. And fulfillment? Fulfillment is magnetic in ways desperation could never be. I want to speak directly now to those of you who feel forgotten by the universe, who've done all the work and still find yourself alone, who wonder if love has passed you by. The universe has not forgotten you. Let me say that again. The universe has not forgotten you. Sometimes the wait is long because the love being prepared for you is extraordinary. Sometimes the delay is because you are still becoming extraordinary, not for them, but for yourself. And sometimes, dear one, sometimes you're exactly where you need to be, learning the lessons only solitude can teach, becoming the lighthouse others need to see. Your love story is still being written. And the author knows exactly what they're doing. Let me tell you about Margaret. Margaret gave up on love at 57. Her husband had passed 10 years prior, and every date since had been a disappointment. I had my great love, she told anyone who'd listen. Lightning doesn't strike twice. So she stopped looking. stopped hoping. Instead, she joined a woodworking class, something she always wanted to try. She was terrible at it, spectacularly terrible, but she laughed at every crooked joint, every splintered edge. The instructor, a quiet man named Thomas, started staying after class to help her. Not because he was attracted to her, or so he told himself, but because her laughter was like medicine for his lonely soul. 6 months of woodworking, 6 months of terrible birdhouses and lopsided picture frames, 6 months of conversations that started with, "How do I use this saw?" and ended with, "Do you ever wonder if we've lived before?" They were married last spring. Margaret was 62. Thomas was 68. At their wedding, Margaret said, "I thought I'd had my great love. I was wrong. That was my first great love. This is my last great love." And maybe the wait between them was just the universe making sure I was ready for the magnitude of this one. Or consider David, who spent 15 years healing from a love that nearly destroyed him. 15 years of therapy, of spiritual work, of learning to be alone without being lonely. He'd made peace with potentially staying single. Then, at a silent meditation retreat, the last place anyone expects to meet someone, he felt a presence next to him that made his whole being vibrate. He didn't open his eyes, didn't need to. He knew. When the retreat ended and they finally spoke, she said, "I've been dreaming of sitting next to you in silence for 7 years. I just didn't know it was you I was dreaming of." They discovered they'd been doing parallel healing journeys on opposite sides of the world. Every therapist, every healing modality, every spiritual practice, preparing them for the moment they could sit in silence together and feel completely at home. But perhaps my favorite story is James. James found love in the most ordinary way possible. No signs, no synchronicities, no dreams or premonitions. Just Tuesday afternoon at the library. Reached for the same book, laughed, had coffee. That's it. That's the whole mystical story. Except that James had become so comfortable in his own skin that he could reach for a book without wondering if this was meant to be. He could have coffee without analyzing every word for cosmic significance. He could simply be present. And in that presence, love walked in on ordinary Tuesday feet and stayed for 37 years and counting. You see what these stories have in common? None of these people were looking when love arrived. They weren't desperate. They weren't manifesting. They weren't analyzing signs. They were just living, fully, completely, authentically. And that, beloved, is often when love arrives. When you're so engaged with life that you forget to check if love has texted back. When you're so fascinated by your own becoming that you stop auditioning people for the role of your completion. Love arrives when you're ready. Not when you think you're ready, but when you actually are. When your heart has been broken open instead of broken shut. When you've learned the difference between loneliness and solitude. When you can offer partnership instead of desperation. And here's what no one tells you about that arrival. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes the one walks in, not with fireworks, but with the steady certainty of sunrise. Sometimes soul recognition feels less like lightning and more like, "Oh, there you are. What took you so long?" My dear child, we've traveled far together in this short time, haven't we? Through the valleys of lost love and the peaks of possibility, through the shadows of what was and the light of what could be. Before I leave you, let me place this truth in your keeping. You are not late. Do you hear me? You are not late. Love has not passed you by. Your person has not married someone else, or if they have, they weren't your person, just a person who prepared you for the person. Every day you've waited has been adding facets to the diamond of your soul. Every heartbreak has been expanding your capacity to hold joy. Every lonely night has been teaching you the beauty of your own company. Love is never delayed. It is only made sacred by the time it takes to arrive. And when it does arrive, whether in 5 minutes or 5 years or 5 decades, you'll understand that every moment of the journey was necessary. Every wrong turn was right. Every goodbye was preparing you for the ultimate hello. But until then, dear one, love the life you have. Become endlessly fascinating to yourself. Trust the timing of your soul. Know that you are held by forces greater than you can imagine. And remember, oh, please remember, that somewhere in this vast universe, someone is being prepared to love you with the same intensity that you're being prepared to love them. The universe doesn't do half measures when it comes to soul connections. If you're feeling the call this deeply, trust that an answer is being prepared with equal devotion. So tonight, when you lay your head on your pillow, let this be your prayer. Thank you for the love that has been. Thank you for the love that is. Thank you for the love that's coming. I trust the divine timing of my heart. I trust the wisdom of the universe. I trust that everything is unfolding perfectly. And I am ready. I am so beautifully, bravely ready. Because you are, dear one. You are ready. Even if you don't feel it. Even if you're scared. Even if your heart still bears the fingerprints of those who couldn't stay. You are ready. And the one, however they appear, whenever they arrive, they're getting ready too. Trust the mystery. Trust the journey. Trust your beautiful, resilient, ever-opening heart. The universe has not forgotten you. It's been conspiring for your love all along. If this spoke to your soul, comment below. I am ready to receive the love that's meant for me, because speaking it makes it real. Declaring it opens the door, and sharing it reminds others that they're not alone in the waiting. You're not alone, dear one. You never were. Now go, live, love, trust. Your story is still being written, and the best chapters, they're yet to come.